The wait is over. What started as the next step in Zain Bando's sports media journey has officially evolved. We are live on the Empty the Bench Network. This is the home for unfiltered, unapologetic takes on combat sports, college athletics, and everything else in between. Welcome to Bando's Breakdowns, the show where the wheelchair is just a footnote and the sports takes are unmissable. And now, here's your host, Zain Bando.
All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Bando's Breakdown, episode number 102. As the music begins to fade out here on this Friday afternoon, Friday, August 14th, 2026. We are doing well as we're getting closer to being 100 people in this live stream right now. So if all you guys are really starting to come in, and yeah, everyone, welcome to episode 102 of Bando's Breakdowns. My name is Zain Bando, your host for today's show. Shout out to all of you guys who have come in already today. We have 104 people watching my newest episode of Bando's Breakdowns, the show that's been on the ETB network and my YouTube channel since April of 2024. Before we get started, a few quick reminders as well as a special announcement. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the ETB network. To do so, please go to youtube.com/ETB network. And I want to start the show right off the top with a major milestone announcement for the ETB network YouTube channel. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, that the channel has reached 3,000 watch hours. So congratulations to all involved with the network. And just to give you guys a little bit of a taste of what this means for the network, without further ado, here it is. The Empty the Bench Podcast Network is pleased to announce that the network has surpassed 3,000 watch hours on YouTube, and we cannot thank you, the viewers, enough for your outstanding support in making this milestone possible. Thanks to viewers like you, in the coming days and next week, we will be rolling out all the details about our super chats, super stickers, super thanks, channel membership tiers, perks, a merch store, and so much more. We thank you so much for your support of ETB network programming. I've been lucky to be a part of this network now since, I believe, July of 2022. So we're coming up on a little bit over 4 years of being a part of this. My journey in this whole thing began when Tom Albano, who is the host of Fight IQ, as well as Fight IQ, The Puncher's Chance, he and I created what was known as the MMA Outsiders. For those of you who've been following the channel for a while, the MMA Outsiders is on a bit of a hiatus at the moment as we moved on to other projects, but he and I were the spearheads, if you will, of that show. And then I decided one day that I thought it would be a good idea to launch my own show, which I called Bando's Breakdowns, where it's basically everything me. It's all the sports I like. For those of you who know me and know me well, you know what I'm about. I like more than just combat sports. I cover more than just combat sports. I'm also a college guy at heart as well. And speaking of, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a sports journalist and an ETB Network co-host. You can find my work several places, including MMA Knockout on Sports Illustrated. Shout out to our small but mighty team over there with Drew and Logan. And of course, you can check out my work over at Ohio State on Sports Illustrated as well, where we're pumping out great work ahead of the 2026 Ohio State football season and so much more. Of course, you can also find my daily Big Ten work over at the Sporting News as well. So those are all the places you can find me, as well as here and across social media as well. It was scrolling just across the bottom of the screen a minute ago, but at SamBando99 on Instagram and X, and then, of course, on TikTok at Zain Bando. For whatever reason, the 99 part of it was already taken. I don't know why. And I don't know if that was me starting a TikTok account when I didn't mean to, but there you go. So there's my TikTok. But yeah, basically, it's taken a long time to get to this point, as you guys just heard 100 plus episodes of this thing. We've done some great stuff. We've had some cool guests on this show. Nick Kalikas, of course, is one that comes to mind. We've had on Dustin Poirier. We've had on Bruce Buffer. We've had on a lot. We've had on Bobby Rome, who's the new coach at Chicago State. We've had on Scott Ramsey, who, of course, is instrumental in making the Music City Bowl possible on a yearly basis. He was a great guest following Illinois' win over Tennessee. We've had some great guests. We've had some great milestones and memories on this program. But for sure, 3,000 watch hours is a big deal for all involved here. Just wanted to give a quick thank you to everybody on the admin team as well. Nick Morgeson, Tom Albano, as I alluded to, Nico, and of course, Callan McClurg. And then I want to shout out everybody who contributes to the network in some way, whether that would be Gridiron Gurus, which you'll hear a little bit more about later, to some of the shows that have been around a while, like Hitting for the Cycle. Those guys do great work with Nate, Ben, and David, obviously. Looking over at some of the other shows, obviously Press Row with Callan McClurg and Nick Morgeson. That's always a hit on this channel as well. And then all the stuff that Tom does in making sure that Fight IQ is all good to go. Fight IQ, the Puncher's Chance, is good to go. And then our main show, I would say the show that drives the engine for, a quarter of the year, is the Football Forecast, which for those of you who know that that'll be coming back in due time. That'll be September 11th. So just one more reminder to please like and subscribe to the MD The Bench Podcast Network, because we will have a whole lot more coming for you guys as well. And obviously, you can catch up on all the archives of this very show, Bando's Breakdowns, either on youtube.com/EDB Network or my own YouTube channel. There's a curated playlist for both Bando's Breakdowns and, of course, Zan's Zinger Part 2. So with that out of the way, let's get into the show now. And again, thank you guys for all your support. For those of you guys who have just jumped in, thank you for jumping in. We have 147 people on today's stream. Shout out to all of you guys. I haven't even said a word about sports yet, and we've got almost 150 people in here. So shout out to you guys. You guys have gotten the message loud and clear. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so, as we just surpassed 150 people now. Thank you so much for all your support. Let's get into the show now. What we're going to be discussing, as per grand tradition every single week, Zan's overview. It's a big show this week. We've got some WNBA on tap. We've got some more NFL previews on tap. As promised, we will be continuing with the NFC, so stay tuned for that. We already did the NFC North. We'll be previewing 2 more divisions today. Stay tuned for those. We'll also be going over UFC 330, which is tomorrow night from Xfinity Mobile Arena. We're hours away from the ceremonial weigh-ins. Of course, that is a championship doubleheader, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for tomorrow's Fight IQ, the Puncher's Chance pre-show. That'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. And then following the event, of course, is going to be Tom recapping all the festivities from UFC 330. I won't be able to be on that because of how late it will be, but you will see me Sunday morning breaking it all down on Zanzinger Part 2. I'm not going to miss talking about the card, how we did on the card, the whole thing. So you will get my predictions today and so much more. You're also going to get UFC 331, the date, location, and who is going to be competing on that card. It's another stacked card from California. It's their first trip back to California for a number of UFC in quite some time. First trip back to LA in about 8 or so years. They usually try to stay, in the Anaheim area, but now they're going to go LA this time. So stay tuned for that. And also a couple other things. We will have Zanzinger. We also will have one thing that I saw. One of the topics is related to the media industry, so we will get into that. And it actually also is related to the podcast industry as well. And your opinion of what I will say about that could sway based on how you feel about the tenets of journalism, if you will. So stay tuned for that. Let's start, though, in the WNBA. DiJonai Carrington versus Sophie Cunningham. It's been a week-long saga since that whole incident in the Chicago Sky game. There's been a lot of discussion about, just racism in sports and all this stuff and who believes who and all this. I'll keep this brief. We'll probably spend a couple minutes on this, but I just want to say some of this stuff to me just is uncalled for in the game of basketball. It's as simple as that. DiJonai Carrington going and doing what she did, clearly it was not accidental at all. It was clear that she was trying to get after Sophie Cunningham for whatever reasons those are. For her to tweet white privilege during the game, to me, was just uncalled for. And now I'm not saying that she can't tweet whatever she wants. She technically can, but there are rules in place. And I just think some of the things she did, you just don't do. We actually have a comment already in here, and it's from Christy Wilson. This is hilarious. Yeah, I think putting those two in the octagon, I think a lot of people would be interested, whether it's a contender series or a regular UFC event. I don't think Dana White would be down for that, though. I think he'd want Sophie to stick to basketball. And yeah, I mean, really, just my overall opinion is, I agree with a lot of these fans that are coming out online and just turning on DiJonai Carrington. And I'm from the Chicago suburbs, and I can tell you that there are a lot of people who don't condone her actions. I mean, let's even take a look at some of these comments here. I mean, one person said that there should have been 2 flagrant fouls and an ejection. I agree. If the league doesn't step in here, the players will start to police themselves, and then you have chaos. I agree. A third commented they shouldn't be allowed to have nails like that. It's dangerous for the sport. One other person said, LOL, she spreads her arms, not caring where they land, scratching faces and poking eyes. I see what she's doing. Maybe she doesn't belong in basketball, referring to Carrington. And then finally, she's either doing that on purpose or the clumsiest player to ever play the game. Either way, she's a danger and should not be in the court. Yeah, Sophie Cunningham, if she wasn't careful, she would have gotten seriously hurt. So that I completely agree with. I don't think much is going to happen as long as Kathy Engelbert is the commissioner. I think she's done a horrible job at managing this situation. And somebody else, Nick Morganson, even is chiming in there. The situation's out of control. Megyn Kelly, that is Megyn Kelly of the conservative media pool, and not to make it political, but she is on the conservative side, went way overboard profiling what Carrington looks like. Politics is now messing with sports. Yeah, to an extent, I agree, specifically in the WNBA. There's no question about it. And it's making people not care, and it's making people not want to watch the games, because I think in a sport like that, a sport that's trying to grow, you got to focus on basketball, and you can't focus on this other stuff. All this other stuff is a sideshow. Let's be honest, the Chicago Sky, they aren't going anywhere. They're not going to make the playoffs. They haven't been good in several years. It's well documented. I've spoken about it on this program many times that I think the franchise is not well run. This is another instance of that. You put butts in seats at the United Center a week ago, and that's exactly what happens. I mean, it's just a total disappointment from all sides. But you want to talk about it from a rivalry narrative standpoint, that's a rivalry within itself. Those two. I mean, you could take the teams out of it, and it's clear those two don't like each other. As we surpassed 200 people already, and I've barely spoken about anything. This is only the first topic of the show. Shout out to the 200 people who are already in here. You guys are unbelievable. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Subscribe. My final thought on this, though, is something else needs to be done here. Carrington needs to be reprimanded in some way. Sophie Cunningham shouldn't be being treated like this, regardless of what you think about her opinions on trans athletes. Nobody should be getting physically assaulted on a basketball court, because that's literally how it felt to me. And I really, I can say somewhat that I'm a Sky fan. I'm really not. I'm a neutral observer of the WNBA, and I think Sophie Cunningham is getting screwed here. Another comment here. Christy Wilson enjoys my take on what just transpired. And again, this is from someone who does not follow the WNBA as his first sport. And even I can tell you that some of the stuff that's occurred over the last week has not been basketball like whatsoever. And more people should be wary of this as well as the season rolls along. All right, let's move on now. Let's talk about some actual fighting, some sanctioned fighting now. We move from Chicago to Philadelphia for UFC 330. It's the UFC welterweight title fight. Islam Makhachev, Ian Machado Gary in the main event. Islam Makhachev looking to defend his UFC welterweight title for the first time against Ian Machado Gary. Machado Gary's only loss is to Shavkat Rakhmonov. That was all the way back in December of 2024. And now Makhachev is looking to defend a title in another weight division. He was previously the UFC lightweight champion. He had held the belt for quite some time until, of course, he decided to vacate it and move up, which obviously led to Ilia Topuria winning the title over what would have been? He would have won it over Volkan or Charles Oliveira in a vacant title fight. I was thinking when Ilia was a featherweight. Then obviously Ilia, of course, lost the title to Justin Gaethje. So both of those divisions have played musical chairs. Makhachev has a chance to break Anderson Silva's win streak record that was previously set at 16. So if Makhachev were to win this fight, it'll be 17 wins in a row. And clearly an argument could be made that he could be the greatest of all time if he wins this fight, considering he has already won 2 titles in 2 different divisions, obviously welterweight being the most recent one, and just given who he has beat as well, given that his title win was against Jack Della Maddalena, who was on an insane win streak at that point. I think he had won 15 or 16 in a row going in, so a huge fight for both guys, but I just think Makhachev is just a little bit better. I disagree with some of the pundits who say that this isn't just a striker versus grappler matchup. I think it is. Ian Gary's best chance to win is by knocking Makhachev out, and Makhachev's best chance to win is to either win a decision or submit the future. So who knows? Will the future become the present? I'm not so sure, but what I can tell you is I do have an official pick for the main event of the evening. We like Islam Makhachev to win conservatively by decision. I do think he does get some other, means about him in a sense that he might try to finish Ian Gary early on. Makhachev keeping it standing, I don't think is a good idea, although Makhachev has had improved striking skills over the last couple years. I think Makhachev looks better physically than Gary does, although Ian Gary does seem to be in his head a little bit, despite Gary showing mutual respect that Makhachev is the best fighter on the planet. And it's clear Ian Gary does not want to talk about any other sideshow conversations other than the fight itself. There's been a lot made about some of Gary's comments about how women should rule the world and some other stuff that we won't get to on here, because if we did, we'd be here for multiple hours, and I don't want to do that. We have other programming that's coming up here in the next several hours. So to keep it brief, there's a lot going on with this fight, but I just think Makhachev is simply a better fighter right now. It's the continuation of the Khabib Nurmagomedov Conor McGregor rivalry from nearly 8 years ago as well, which obviously Khabib won, as we all know, in that heated fight. This is not as heated at all. Are there comparisons to this fight? Yeah. Is it a bad comparison, though? I think so. I think it's 2 totally different fights, 2 totally different rivalries, and 2 totally different buildups. So give me Makhachev to win this fight in Philadelphia in the main event, retaining his UFC welterweight title. And for us, that gets us back on track in the main event category, as we did fall short a week ago with Mateusz Gamrot losing to Quillen Salkild in Las Vegas. Moving over now to the co-main event of the evening, Mackenzie Dern defends her strawweight championship for the first time opposite Jillian Robertson out of Canada. Jillian Robertson made it very clear at the press conference yesterday that she is looking to finish Dern by any means necessary. She kept getting asked about who is the better jiu-jitsu, and she could not stand that question. She says that this is going to be a fight. It's not going to be boring. She's going to bite down on her mouthpiece and give Mackenzie Dern everything she has. But simply put, I just think Dern is a little bit of a better grappler than Robertson is. And I do think just slightly that Dern has a little bit more of the better resume, a bit more of the sharper resume. And obviously, looking at this fight as well, it's clear that Robertson has had to work her way up to the top. And I'm not saying that Dern hasn't been able to work her way to the top, but I do think the UFC has been a little bit more impressed with Dern as of late. And although she is one win fewer than Robertson is 17 wins, Dern has 16 wins. Mackenzie Dern does have a pretty nice pedigree to her as well. She's won her last 3 fights in a row. She's 11-5 in the promotion. And yeah, I mean, Verna Jandaroba to win the title, that's a pretty good win. Amanda Hebos was on a good run. She's beat Angela Hill. She's lost a couple questionable fights as well. So some argue maybe she isn't deserving of being the champion right now, but that's another discussion for another day. And Robertson has done a phenomenal job at working her way into title contention at 17-8 overall, obviously. And she's number 9 in the world according to Tapology, and has put together nice runs in January of 2024. Her only loss is to Tabitha Ricci in the last 3 or so years. That was by unanimous decision. She had some pretty big wins. Marina Rodriguez, Michelle Watterson, Polyana Viana. It's not bad. It's not a bad fight, but I do think Dern is just a little bit better. And a lot of people do think that the division's a little weird because Weili is now no longer a part of it. And Weili decided, okay, let's go to flyweight. But nonetheless, though, that's the co-main event. Give me Ann Still for the co-main. So we like Dern and Makhachev. Dern, though, I have her winning this fight by submission in the second round. I think she does enough to get the armbar finish and defend her title for the first time, but remain champion once again is what I meant to say. Moving over to the rest of UFC 330, it's not very top heavy, but I'll just run through my very quick predictions on this. We like Jalen Turner to win his fight against Fernandez. We're not going to try to pronounce his opponent's first name. Mansour Abdul Malik will beat Dustin Stolfutz. We like Ribovics over Barboza. We like Alvarez. We like Charles Johnson. We like Dante Johnson. We like Vicente Luque. We like Trayshawn Gore, actually. We like Trayshawn Gore. What do we have him at? Gore to win in the second round by knockout. We like Fernando by knockout. And we like Magny and Ora by decision. That is UFC 330 in a nutshell. 12 fights. 5:30 Eastern start for the prelims. And, of course, followed by main card action only on Paramount Plus. All right, let's move on now to the second half of the show here. The Bears looking like they will move to Indiana, although nothing is set in stone. Let's examine the legitimacy of this here. It's pretty important. So according to CBS Sports' John Breach, this is what George McCaskey had to say. We will be the Chicago Bears, whether we are in Arlington Heights or whether we are in Hammond. The Bears called a press conference that was yesterday. This is what Kevin Warren had to say back in June, though, about it. So even though we've had occasional meetings with the state of Illinois, our sole focus at this time is working on a world-class stadium and mixed-use development in Hammond, Indiana. We will make sure that we take our time to get this right, Warren said. Not only are we building a world-class stadium, we're building a world-class mixed-use development, which means they'll want to have concerts and other stuff there as well. So I don't feel as bad about this as some others might, because they're not going to change the name of the franchise. So I don't mind that as well. If they were going to change the name, I'd be more upset, but it doesn't seem like they're going to. I just don't know if Hammond, Indiana is really that nice of an area to house an NFL team, but what do I know, unless they're going to basically rebuild the entire city to make it look nicer to make this happen. I'm not so sure, but I am starting to believe the volition that the Bears will move to Indiana. I'd be surprised at this point if it was Arlington Heights. And Warren goes on to say, it's reached that point now where we're starting to get some clarity in the moment that we finish our due diligence and have the appropriate capital stack and financing together. We are looking forward to making a decision so we can break ground and get our project moving forward. We've had contact our staff, their staff, and we're working hard to make sure there's an opportunity for the Bears to play in the state of Illinois. That's according to J.B. Pritzker. Whether it's in Chicago or Arlington Heights, it's something that I personally, as a Bears fan, want very much. I also want at the same time to protect the fans and the taxpayers of the state, because obviously not everybody in this state is happy with professional football. I don't know how else to say it. Let's just say there are people in Illinois that don't like sports. It's as simple as that. So this is still ongoing, and I bet there's going to be more discussion about this on tonight's episode of Gridiron Gurus. And speaking of Gridiron Gurus, this season, without further ado, here we go. Ditch the traditional broadcast desk and fire up the grill. It's time to tailgate. Ditch your dad's boring old school pregame show and get walked in with Gridiron Gurus on the Empty the Bench podcast and rejoin Grant Winsauer, Ben Cruz, and Michael Rapolo every Sunday during the season, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, for the ultimate Sunday morning kickoff tailgate. Grant, Ben, and Michael give you everything you need in the final hour before kickoff. Last minute fantasy sit and started by sharp betting lines, crucial weather conditions, and real-time injury news that could make or break your Sunday slate. Don't set your lineups or lock in your bets on autopilot. Join the tailgate, get the edge, and win your Sunday. Catch Gridiron Gurus every Sunday, again, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, only on the ETV network. And please be sure to subscribe today. Speaking of football, let's move over now to the NFC West. We previewed the NFC North. We have the Packers winning the NFC North Division Championship by 1 game over the Bears. Let's see who I have winning the NFC West. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, the defending Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks, came out of the NFC West last year, burst onto the scene, or at least back onto the modern day scene, with a very, very good team a year ago, beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. You obviously had other contenders as well, like the Rams and the 49ers, where the Cardinals simply underachieved. Let's take a look at the NFC West as well and give some of my predictions, if we can. So let's start here and let's see if I agree. So according to Bleacher Report, this is what they think for the NFC West, and let me see if I agree with them when you look at the schedules as well. The Rams, they have them at 13-4. I could easily see it. I do think they will be reloading. According to Bleacher Report, it says Rams head coach Sean McVay told ESPN's Sarah Barshop that Aaron Donald's arrow for return from retirement is trending up. If the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year rejoins the team, he would be lined up with one of the league's best pass rushers in Myles Garrett on a star-studded defensive line. Los Angeles will have the defense to complement an offense led by reigning MVP Matthew Stafford that racked up the most points and yards last year. The Rams should be the favorite to finish with the NFC's best record this year. Obviously, as we know, they defeated the Bears in the postseason and, of course, fell short of a Super Bowl berth. The 49ers, they're looking like they're going to underachieve this year at 9-8. Seems like too many injuries. Mike Evans has a minor quad strain. Christian Kirk is dealing with a calf strain. And, of course, the team placed Ricky Pearsall on season-ending injury reserve. The 49ers may be relying heavily on Christian McCaffrey, which is a dicey proposition given the wear and tear on his body. Also, Nick Bosa is dealing with tendonitis in his surgically repaired knee. The team's health will be the story of the season, and the 49ers have enough talent to stay above 500, but they will miss the playoffs. And yeah, they have the Arizona Cardinals going 2-15. Not much more to say other than that Jacoby Brissett, is going to be the quarterback this year, and that's obviously not good news for a Cardinals team that's been in rebuild mode for a long time. I'm going to say this. I agree with Bleacher Report's assessment. I have the Rams winning the NFC West as well, but a division with major question marks is the NFC South because of who some of these teams lost. Obviously, we're looking at the Saints, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and of course the Carolina Panthers. It was one of the roughest divisions in football a season ago. And speaking of the NFC South, let's take a look at who Bleacher Report is winning the division, and let's see if I agree with them again. They have the Saints returning to prominence at 9-8, winning the division with Kellen Moore under play calling duties as well. They've got Travis Etienne. Obviously, that was a huge free agent signing. Drafted Jordan Tyson, who should be a speedster in the open field. They also have Cam Jordan and, of course, Chase Young as well. And who knows, maybe, as they said, maybe that Buccaneers game is for the NFC South title, very similarly to the Carolina-Tampa Bay game as well at the end of the year last season. The Buccaneers, according to them, missed the playoffs at 8-9, while Carolina and Atlanta stumbled to 7-10 and 5-12 records. Yeah, I don't disagree. I do think, though, that Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield may just be a little bit better, so that's where I might slightly disagree. I see Tampa winning the NFC South, but it's going to be an ugly scene in Tampa if it does not. Final couple of topics as well. The LA Lakers were sold earlier this week, but it's not the type of sale that you may think. They've had an interesting offseason themselves. They no longer have LeBron, of course. Let's take a look at the LA Lakers sale if we can, and whether it is an overreaction or not. So here we go. Let's take a look here. All right, so everything we know about the LA Lakers sale according to Yahoo Sports. All right, so the sale came together fast. NBC Sports has been told that Kushner, meaning Jared Kushner, and Bob Iger were seriously involved in bidding for a potential expansion team in Las Vegas, though not necessarily the front runner. And as it continues on, it came together over this past weekend. Why sell the team now? Nobody seems to know, but it does indicate here that it may be because Walter needed cash, meaning that Walter, who had purchased the team in the previous months, let's take a look here if we can and see the introduction. For this Mark Walter, that would be the owner of the LA Dodgers, already owned 27% of the team and had first right of refusal of the sale. Yeah, I don't know, man. So the Buss family is still going to be involved. It doesn't impact the Dodgers at all. Nothing really changes regarding the Lakers as a franchise. So I think this is just because there's a lot going on. It's a bit of a slow news cycle. Did the Lakers need to be sold right now? Probably not. Probably not, I would guess. But it is what it is. That's where we're at. And yeah, there you go. So we'll see what the Iger-Kushner relationship looks like. But for now, all that remains to be seen. We actually have a comment regarding this as well. Mark Walter only sold his shares, but the Buss family still has minority ownership. And reports are because Walter has 16 to 21 billion in insurance frauds for his own insurance companies. And with that, I say go figure. All right, let's move on now to the final couple of topics while we can here as we wrap up the show. One thing that I saw, there's a prominent Lions podcaster known as The Doc. It's the Detroit Sports Podcast, if you guys know it. He went on his channel the other day, I think it would have been yesterday that I saw this, to say that his credential approval for the Detroit Lions was denied. He went through a huge rebuttal as to what happened. He really doesn't even know what happened, but I just want to say my 2 cents or a couple of cents on this. Being independent media is very difficult. I'm just going to say that. You have to build a lot of relationships. It seems that he did, but it also seems as well that because of his following, it ruffled some feathers the wrong way with some of the Detroit Lions staff members and whatnot. And obviously, PR controls who can get credentialed and who can't. You can ask Colorado and Deion Sanders about that. They're going through their whole little thing right now with the media not being allowed to report anything from practice, even though they're allowed to be there in pretty much silence. They can't even take notes of what's going on. So I'm just going to say this. If the guy has a big enough following and he's happy to stay home on Sundays and can do his commentary and reporting elsewhere, then by all means, he should be able to do so. So there's that. But I just think overall, though, sometimes relationships are meant to come to an end. That doesn't mean he can't stay in touch with those people. He certainly can. But it seems that, sometimes in media this does happen. I can't control whether I get denied for media credentials or approved at this point with what I do. I am not expected to be approved, but I have the inkling that I'm going to be approved most of the time. But I do know that sometimes these things do happen and you just have to deal with it. Sometimes you can't control what it is that you do or don't do. And it seems that even though he had the best intentions and he had covered them a long time, it just didn't fully work out. So now that means he can pour a lot of his energy into continuing to build his podcast. And the Doc being gone is a bummer for the Lions fan base. It seems like a lot of people were big into this guy or into this guy quite a lot. I didn't know much about him before listening to his announcement, but overall, though, it seems like he should be okay moving forward, given the audience he has already built. And then finally, Zain Zinger, 24-hour Field of 68 marathon is finally back. I think it's great for college basketball. It's good for the junkies. Will I be staying up to watch it? Probably not. There's really no games I'm interested in, but for anybody who loves college basketball, it's great. They're going to be live streamed. It's going to be awesome. Field of 68 is a good company. They do, in my opinion, the best job at covering college basketball. I think they even do a better job than ESPN, to be quite honest. Even though Jeff Goodman does ruffle some feathers, I will say overall the entire platform itself does a good job covering the sport. I'm excited to see how it looks, obviously, on stream. Should be fun. Some of the matchups are decent. It's a lot of niche teams, if you will. A lot of teams that no one would initially think about, but there you go, man. College basketball will be here before you know it, but college basketball is in November. We're getting closer to September, and with that, that'll do it for another edition of Bando's Breakdown. This has been episode 102. No errors as far as I'm concerned, and once again, that'll wrap it up. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to another edition of the program. My name is Zain Bando. If you could reminders before you get out of here, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Follow the show on social media at Bando's Breakdown. Subscribe to the channel today, youtube.com/ETB Network. And of course, you can listen to the archives of the show wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Zain Bando. Once again, I'm a sports journalist and an ETB Network co-host. You can follow me across social media today at ZainBando99. That's at ZAINBANDO99 on Instagram and X, and on TikTok at ZAINBANDO with the 99 omitted. I wish I could fix it. I can't fix it, though. It would require me to begin a brand new account, which I don't want to do. And my personal TikTok is doing pretty decently from a follower standpoint. We're inching closer to 1,000 followers over there. So if you want to check out all my stuff, you certainly can. And with that, that'll do it. Shout out to the 324 people, 325 now, that popped by for this afternoon stream. We will catch you guys next Thursday back at the same time once again for episode 103 and every Thursday going forward, except for the 1 week where I get my wisdom teeth out and I also have a wedding. So besides those 2 weeks, this fall should be locked and loaded and ready to go for the foreseeable future. But until next week, and until next time, too, with Zain Zinger Part 2 on Sunday morning, my name is Zain Bando. Thanks so much for tuning in. This has been another edition of Bando's Breakdowns. Please be sure to subscribe to the ETB Network today as well. Shout out to all of you guys who have been with us for the entire 3,000 watch hour climb, or if you're brand new, welcome to the channel. And also, thanks again. Thanks so much. Keep it locked in. Keep it subscribed. Keep the post notifications turned on for more live streams like this one and several of the other shows on the network. There's 16 other shows to choose from outside of this one. And with that, that'll do it. Have a good rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy UFC 330 tomorrow night from Philadelphia. If you will be there, have a blast. But if you're staying in to watch the fights, that's great too. And until next week, I'll see you soon. Have a good one, everyone. Cheers.